chaos and evil roaring, waves clashing, times passing, people are lashing. Heard all cries of souls in distress. Trickle of injustice far, it won't rest. Gotta remember days of old love, takes control from evil strongholds. Devil don't care about us. Dragon breathe the fire of hateism. Lost souls in the maze of darkness. Evil taking control of the heartless. We must not get distracted from the divine revelation. The teacher generation, to build a holy nation. We are children of the Most High, holy God's precious creation. Most High is calling out to the nation. Say peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still.
Keep your head up through the storm. God is able, He is able to do it for you. No matter what's going on, keep your head up through the storm. God is able, He is able.
Turmoil, terror, beasts rising up out of the sea. Evil nations powered by the dragon. Speaking blasphemy against the God of peace. War. The sea is in a rage. Beast roar. Release the terrorism from its iron cage. The trail of tears. Simulation. Souls trapped. Named deleted. Enslaved for years. CER in accelerator. Man quest to be the creator. The sea is in rest. Colors flashing. Flags flying. It's very clear to me why the souls are crying. Virus into the system, to the directories, the root, virus, evil fruit. Those who have fears, let them hear what the Spirit says. Endure, overcome, I will give you peace. That's everlasting. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still.
I decree right now. I decree right now. No matter what's going on, keep your head up through the storm. God is able, He is able. No matter what's going on, keep your head up through the storm. God is able, He is able.
Revelation 21, the word of the Most High reads, says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. Glory to the Most High. I heard a loud shout from the throne, say, yeah, glory, glory, glory. Look, the Most High's home is now among his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. The Most High himself will be with them. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, or sorrow, or crying, or pain. All these are gone forever. Peace, be still.
And that was Minister Michael Norman. Thank you, Brother Minister Michael Norman, for sharing with us that song. Minister Michael Norman is a brother that's doing a lot of great things. And he's over there in, let me get my microphone together here. He's over in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's doing a great job over there. You all check him out. You can get his stuff on iTunes. You can also get it on Spotify. Just put in Minister Michael Norman. Minister Michael Norman. I'm going to have him on in the near future. He's going to be on, come on and share some things with us. And I think next Friday night, we're going to have Brother Michael Norman on. If you can hear me, give me a 1 in the chat room. Give me a 1 in the chat room if you can hear me. All right. Can you all hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay. We're going to get started. We're going to be bringing in our brother. Okay, good, Brother JD. Thank you all very much. Absolutely. All right, we're going to have a good time tonight. Good time tonight. So let's get started with this lesson. We always start off with prayer, and that's what we're going to do. Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight. We come to you in the name of Jesus. We ask you that everyone that's in this chat room tonight, all those that will be viewing this, perhaps at a later date, those that are watching but not in the chat room, we hope that this lesson that you've given us to share would be beneficial to all. We ask that you'll bless our reader tonight, and we ask that you let your face shine upon us as we enter into your Sabbath. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so we're going to get started. I want to say hello to Sister Sheila Claytor. How you doing, Sister Sheila? Brother Arthur, Brother Abraham, how you doing? Sister Queen Cleo, how you doing? How's everything up in Savannah? How you doing, Miss Renee? Brother Ashton, how you doing? Brother Avery, Sister Avery, I don't know. My glasses, I can't see the icon. Brother Mark P. Lavana, how you doing? And of course, we have Brother JT, who we're going to be bringing in a minute, and Brother Tobiah, how you doing? So all of you all that are here tonight in the chat room, we have some in the chat room and others watching. So let's get started. Now, if you don't mind, give us a 1. Give us a thumbs up, and like this video so it can build up the algorithms. How you doing, Ronnie? So if you don't mind, how you doing, Sister Kelly coming in? If you don't mind, give us that into the chat room, okay, if you don't mind. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get my brother in here. Where is he at? I want to go down here and bring in Canson, how you doing? Kelly, how you doing? Ronnie, I hope all is well with you guys. Let me go over here and bring in our brother, JD, promoter panelist. He is in. Brother JD, how you doing there, my brother? I'm going to unmute you. How you doing?
I'm good. You?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great.
Long time no talk, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Lakeisha, how you doing? Blessed and healthy. How are you? Just saying greetings to everyone in the chat room. Okay, so we're going to get started tonight. We're going to be talking about the fourth beast of the earth. Elder Robert Johnson, I was hoping he was going to be able to tune in tonight, but he's not. We have covered some very good stuff in the past few weeks. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to bring out the fourth beast. But I don't want to just do it that way. What I want to do is show you that the scriptures is all saying the same thing. So we're going to bring out the various prophets, both in Old and New, as well as the apostles when it comes to describing the end time. And I think that's important for us to get there. So, Brother JD, I want to go over into the book of Daniel. I think it starts with Daniel because remember the children of Israel, Daniel was in bondage for quite some time, and he saw a lot. But just seeing a lot don't really make a big difference until you are able to experience a lot. And he was able to experience a lot. So let's go over to Daniel, the book of Daniel. We're going to go to the King James Version, which is what we read and study from. And we're going to start with the vision that Nebuchadnezzar had. Now, again, what we're doing tonight, I'm simply connecting. I'm connecting dreams. Sometimes if you connect dreams that people have, you will be able to put the pieces together. So that's one of the things we're going to do. So let's go over here to Daniel, the second chapter. Brother JD, let's start off this with Daniel, the second chapter, and let's start it up in verse number 1.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to all the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king.
Okay, hold up right there. Now, if you all remember, the past few nights we've been talking about the 3.5 years, the 3.5 years of tribulation. We talked about the wilderness. But what we're doing tonight is connecting some dots beforehand so that you can confirm the latter days. These are prophets. So that's what we're doing. We're connecting some things that happened at the very beginning that connects prophetic accounts in the latter days. So Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. Read verse number 3.
And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream.
Now, as you all know, that this dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, none of his people could reveal this dream. None of his people knew the dream, but they did know of one of the Hebrew boys that perhaps could do this. And when they went to go kill all the prophets of the land, when they came to kill, including the prophets in the Hebrew slaves, they were going to kill them too. And he wanted everybody dead. So let's pick this up in verse number 13.
And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guards, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the king known to Daniel. Made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions.
Now, those are the 3 Hebrew boys, but their names that they were given in slavery was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Keep going.
That they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
So, Daniel and his brothers, they prayed. What happened in verse number 19?
Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wise wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding.
What else does he do?
He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him.
Okay, stop right there for a second. Let me make a point. In studying and learning, on the way to learning, you always learn something else. I know a lot of people are probably disrupt. They say, oh man, this guy, Donald Trump, man, look at this guy. Let me tell you, every king, the scripture says, every king, he sets them up. The Most High sets up every king. Donald Trump has a purpose. And if you look at what's going on, that purpose is, and you're going to find out the purpose of Donald Trump being in office when we get through this lesson. You're going to understand it. And Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians were not people of God, but God had a purpose for Nebuchadnezzar and used him and made him recognize the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So in essence, remember, God is always in control, always in control. So let's continue to read that, brother JD. Let's pick it back up. Let's get down to verse 24.
Therefore Daniel went into Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation.
Now, this is important to know, because the king the king had a dream. It was so bad, he couldn't even remember the dream, but he wanted to interpret the dream, but he couldn't remember the dream. So the wise men said of Babylon and the Chaldeans, they said, how can we interpret the dream and you can't remember the dream? So they said, what king asks anybody something like that? But Daniel prayed to the Most High God. And when Daniel began to pray, not only did the Almighty reveal the interpretation of the dream, he told Daniel what the dream was. And of course, Nebuchadnezzar, once you start telling him the dream he had, he's going to say, oh yeah, that's the dream that I had. So Daniel, these Hebrew brothers, they are some bad boys. Let me tell you something, because there was none that could do what these three brothers were for, because Daniel had them all praying with him. Okay, so let's pick this back up. Let's pick it up back in verse 25.
Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captains of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation.
Okay, keep going.
The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof?
Okay.
Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded, cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king?
No, so in other words, he said, none of those people can show this thing to you. But guess what?
But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days.
This is important. This is important. This is important. What shall be in the latter days? Okay? So this is why we're going to tie this in right to the book of Revelation. In order to understand how prophecy works, the Most High has a law. Let every fact be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. So not only is he giving this dream to Nebuchadnezzar, okay, he's also giving it to Daniel, because the dream was Nebuchadnezzar had the dream, but the dream was really for Daniel. I don't know if that makes sense or not. The dream Nebuchadnezzar had, but the dream was really for Daniel to see something. And that's going to play out in a minute. It's going to play out in a minute. So let's get back over here so we can see this. And the reason why I say that is because when Nebuchadnezzar had the dream and Daniel interpreted, the Almighty had to let Daniel see the dream from the perspective of the head or the lead kingdom of the earth. That way, when these other kingdoms come, Daniel would have a perspective of what's going to take place when he has his dreams. All right, so let's go back over here to Daniel. Let's pick it back up. Where did we left off at?
Beginning of 29.
Yeah, go ahead and read that up.
As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into
No,
thy
I'm
mind.
sorry, verse 28. 28. We said what should be in the latter days. Go ahead and read verse 28. Start that back over.
But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these.
Now, Daniel goes into some dialogue, but then we're going to skip down to the dream. Okay, skip down to verse number 31.
Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
Now stop there, because we're going to divide this into 4 parts, okay? So his head was one. From his shoulders to his waist was another part. From his waist to his knees was a third part. And the 4th part was from the knees down, including the feet, and they brought in the toes. Now, I wanted to just bring in the 4 parts so that you can see that he's going to explain that this statue, which was terrible to the king, this statue is 4 kingdoms, 4 kingdoms. And Daniel's going to bring that out when he's interpreting the dream. So let's get back over into this. Okay, so let's pick it up. And he gives Daniel tells him the dream. That's the same Daniel. In these verses here, he tells Daniel tells the king what he saw in verses 31 through 35. But in verse 36, he's now going to give him the interpretation of that dream. Go ahead, Brother JD.
This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven has given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And whosoever and wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven has he given into thine hand, and has made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Okay, hold up there, Brother JD. There's a reason why Daniel's interpretation is important to tell Nebuchadnezzar that you are in charge of everything. You're in charge of everything. You, as being the head, you're in charge of the fowls of the earth. You're in charge of every kingdom. You're in charge of all of that. And let me tell you something. Babylon operated in this manner. I'm the head. You can have your own culture, but I'm the head. You can be a king and a ruler over your people, but I'm the head king. Every country, every ruler, every nation on the earth came under Babylon. They came under Babylon. And Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar, was the ruler of them all. And that's important to know because the precedent is being set that whoever is in charge, the ruler of all the earth, is truly indeed the ruler over all the earth. And that's important to know because even when you get to the second, the third, and the fourth kingdoms, they are in charge as Nebuchadnezzar is because the precedent is being set. So let's go back over here and let's digest this a little bit more. We got to digest this. Listen to this. Pick that up in verse number 37.
We just read that, but you want me to read it again?
Yeah, I want you to read it again.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings.
So you means you are over all of the other kings. Why?
For the God of heaven has given thee a kingdom, power, and strength and glory.
So I don't care who's in charge. I don't care who's running what country. Who is in charge? The God of heaven have given you this. Okay, so here, look at his power in verse 38.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven has he given into thine hand.
So the God of heaven has given all of this stuff in your hands. What else has he done?
And has made thee ruler over them all.
And you the ruler of them all. And y'all art what?
This head of gold.
All right, that's number one. That's kingdom number one. Keep going in verse number 39.
And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
So there's two kingdoms, there's three kingdoms, all of these kingdoms. He says, after thee, there's going to be another kingdom inferior to thee, and a third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule. And what is it? Bear rule over what?
And the fourth kingdom.
No, I want to read that last part. All of them are bearing rule over all the earth. Before we get to the fourth kingdom, understand that he's telling Nebuchadnezzar what thus saith the Lord. Every kingdom is going to bear rule over all the earth. Every kingdom is going to. That the Almighty is going to put in charge. Okay, so let's pick this back up, Brother JD. What about the fourth kingdom?
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Now he's still talking about the fourth kingdom. Keep going.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
So in other words, this fourth kingdom, there's some characteristics because it's not ruling like the other three kingdoms. Notice that he says right here in verse 39, and after these shall ride another kingdom inferior to thee, and the third kingdom of brass. All of these are going to rule over all of the earth. But the fourth kingdom is strong as iron. Because iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things. As iron breaketh all things, shall it break pieces and is bruised. But then he brings out something. He brings out how it stands, its feet and its toes, part iron and part clay. So the kingdom is going to be divided, but there should be in the strength of it, the iron so in other words, it's going to be all over the place. This kingdom is going to be all over the place. This is something to consider. Rome today is the fourth beast. It's all over the place. Its policies, its doctrines, its pagan worship, it's all over the place. It's scattered. It's not strong. It's broken, but it's all over the place. Its ideology is all over the place. So the Almighty is really showing Nebuchadnezzar something through Daniel's interpretation that God gave him. And read verse number 42.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Now this is important. Verse 44. I'm going to go back, and I want Brother JD to read, and I'm going to break this down. Go ahead and start reading.
Verse what?
44.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom.
So in the days of these kings, God is going to set up a kingdom. In other words, it's going to be during the time of flesh. It's going to be during the time when these kingdoms are set up. And he's going to tell you when he's going to come. Because now, remember, Nebuchadnezzar, part of the dream was that he saw a stone that came and let's go back up here because we talked about what he saw, but let's read this right here, that dream that he saw and showing him the dream. Read verse 34.
Thou sawest till that stone was cut out without hands, which
so you saw this image until a stone was cut out without hands. In other words, that has nothing to do with man. Keep going.
Which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces.
So that's the fourth kingdom. This stone is going to come at a period of time of man when this fourth kingdom is set up. A stone is going to come, and keep going.
Then was the iron and the clay, the brass, and I keep saying and the silver and the gold broken to pieces together and became.
So all of the kingdoms, all of the ideologies, all of the rules, everything, all of the governments, everything was broken in pieces together. And what happened to it?
and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away.
So all those kingdoms are going to be taken away. Why?
That no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
That means a great government. Now let's go back down here as we were interpreting the dream. Pick it up in verse 44 again. And the days of these kings, God shall set up the heaven. Now this is getting into the stone right now. He's getting into the interpretation of the stone. Go ahead and read.
In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands.
So when he says for as much, he's letting you know how this that we read in verse 44, how it all comes to play out. Because he says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven be set up and never be destroyed. It's not going to be left to other people, because remember, it says that the stone came from the mountain without hands. So here is he's giving them more interpretation of these dreams. It's not going to be ran by people. It's going to be ran by those that are part of the spiritual kingdom. And it shall stand forever and ever. For as much, the reason why is for the much as you saw that stone that was cut out of the mountain without hands. Keep going.
For as much as thou sawest that stone was cut out of the mountains without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
Now he's letting him know, listen, man, God is letting you know what's going to happen and come to pass hereafter. All the way, God has just let you know in your dream, Nebuchadnezzar, what's going to happen from the time your kingdom is all the way to the kingdom that's going to come after you. And a third kingdom is going to come after it. And a fourth kingdom is going to come. He even told him how the fourth kingdom is going to be, how it's going to be structured. And notice there is no fifth kingdom of the world, of mankind. He says this statue is going to stand up. And once the government of God comes and disintegrates all of the kingdoms of the earth, it's going to set up its kingdom. And God has made this known to you in a dream. So what did Nebuchadnezzar do? When you get this kind of information, man, listen what Nebuchadnezzar did. Verse 46.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of truth it is that your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Now what I want to do is we're going to go over to Daniel's dreams. And this is what's important about Daniel's dreams. Because remember earlier, you all, I said that Nebuchadnezzar's dream was really for Daniel. And so Daniel could see and get favor. See, Daniel has to get favor. And this is why, and let me explain this something to you. This is why in the book of Kings, and it says that when you, and the book of Psalms, there's several places it says that when you pray to the Most High and turn and face Jerusalem, wherever you are in the world, wherever you are, just repent and return back to Torah and face Jerusalem, and he will cause your oppressors to have compassion on you. That's powerful, because he blessed Daniel with so many gifts and gave Daniel a job in the government. In the government. On the way of learning something, you're going to learn something. Some people say, man, I don't want to work for this government. I don't want to work for this devil. Let me tell you something. This devil's in charge, but God will cause this devil, if that's what you call him, to have compassion and give you favor and give you a good job with sick time, vacation, and a pension, and your Sabbath and your feast days off. Because when Daniel got there, they wanted Daniel and the other Hebrew boys to eat things that they weren't supposed to eat. Them people went to praying. Those Hebrews went to praying. They said, listen, we don't give us that food. We don't eat that. And he said, listen, man, I can't go against what the king commanded. He said, but this food is not for us. And all we're going to do is not eat it. And you're making us go against what we believe. We have a God. We know we're in captivity. We know why we're in captivity. But let us eat what we're used to eating. And they gave him, said, I tell you what, I'm going to give you some time. And I'm going to see how you all fare out. Let me tell you something. Not only were they stronger, and not only did they work longer and harder compared to the other slaves, he went and told the king, said, let them have what they want to have. If that's the outcome, wow. And this is how the Almighty will give you favor. Now, I want to go over here to the 3rd chapter of Daniel, and I want to get into why I said this dream is for Daniel. Okay. We're going to skip this because he makes this gold and all like that. I don't want to read that one. The one I want to read, well, let me see. I want to go over here to Daniel's, his first time having his dream.
That was 7.
And I believe that's going to be in the 7th chapter.
Correct.
Okay.
Ready.
Go ahead. Pick that up in verse number 1.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Stop right there. 4 great beasts. Now, Daniel's going to be given an interpretation. Right now, Daniel is not connecting the dots as of yet. As of yet, he's not connecting the dots, but the dots are going to connect. And I'm going to help. We're going to connect them because it's the same 4 kingdoms, that Nebuchadnezzar had. Now, in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, I'm going to show you something. Nebuchadnezzar was only told there was going to be 4 kingdoms or 3 kingdoms to come up after him, and that he was going to be fine. Okay. And in fact, it says the 2nd kingdom is going to be inferior to you. But the point that I wanted to make is, notice he did not tell Nebuchadnezzar who those kingdoms were. And the reason why, if Nebuchadnezzar knew who they were, y'all notice later on Nebuchadnezzar got beside himself, and God had to humble him and make him eat the grass in the field for some time, made him lose his mind. Had I believed that if he told Nebuchadnezzar who those kingdoms were, Nebuchadnezzar would have went to kill them so he can last forever. in spite of God letting him know what prophecy is going to be. So I want to bring up 4 because Daniel is having the dream about 4 beasts from the earth. He don't realize that in this dream that these are countries as of yet. Okay, go ahead and pick that up.
The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Just read, because I went a little long. Read verse 3 again.
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Okay.
The first was like a lion.
Stop there. The second, verse number 5.
And behold, another beast, a second like a bear.
Okay. And let's go down to the third one. Verse number 6.
And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
So what we know is these 4 beasts, so far the first 3 is a lion, the second one is a bear, and the third one is a leopard, okay? Now, verse number 7.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
So notice he doesn't give an animal to describe it. It was just dreadful, terrible. Okay? There was no animal that in Daniel's time, that it could be likened or that he could connect it with it. Okay. Now, read verse number 9.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire.
Now this is going to be that stone. We're going to equate that to the stone in just 1 second. Okay. I want to go ahead and because we're talking about the 4th, read verse number 10.
A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame.
So we know that the 4th beast is going to be subdued. Now, let's go ahead and pick it up in verse number 12, because he's letting Daniel know, you see this dream and you see this 4th terrible beast, but don't worry about it. Keep going.
As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
Okay.
And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
Stop right there, because we read that back over here in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, concerning the king, concerning what's going to happen in the interpretation when the stone comes. Verse 44.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Okay, now let's go back over here to the 7th chapter and pick that back up, because I'm just connecting dots. I'm showing you that the same sequences of order, Daniel is now getting them. He's not getting it yet, but he's going to get the understanding of it. So I saw in the night visions, this is verse 44, but it's the same thing in 7 and 13. Read that again.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and
that's when Jesus returns. Read verse 14.
And came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
Now, all of this bothered Daniel. So what did the Most High tell Daniel? Read verse 15.
I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, made me know the interpretation of the things.
Stop right there. Now notice Daniel, who is an interpreter of dreams, he's having a dream, and in his dream, he needs somebody to interpret for him. Okay, so let's pick this up and let's find out what all of this means. Verse number 17.
These great beasts, which are four kingdoms, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
Okay, stop there. Nebuchadnezzar saw 4 kingdoms, and then comes a stone. So all of this is important to show you what's taking place at the end. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest things that people want to know is what's going to happen at the end. And we're getting it tonight. We're getting it tonight. We're connecting the dots tonight. Okay? Because a lot of people want to know what's going to happen at the end. And a lot of people don't touch it. They don't even want to deal with it. Okay. But the saints of the Most High is going to take the kingdom and possess it forever and ever. Now listen to this. Daniel's not satisfied, because what he wants to know about that 4th beast. Go ahead and read verse number 19.
Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And
stop there. I just want to bring down that eventually during this time, in verse 21, what is this thing going to do?
And of the
verse 24.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom.
I'm sorry, verse 21. I said 24, I meant 21. Read verse 21.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them.
How long is he going to prevail against them?
3.5 years.
Read verse 22.
Until the Ancient of Days came. And
so in other words, this 4th beast is going to make war with the saints and is going to prevail against them until the Ancient of Days come. And we're going to find out when the Ancient of Days, who is the Ancient of Days?
Jesus.
All right, keep going. Until the Ancient of Days came.
And judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom.
Okay.
Then he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth.
So now we know who the 4th beast. This is the 4th kingdom upon the earth. because he told Nebuchadnezzar there's going to be a kingdom. You're the kingdom. There's going to be a second and a third and a fourth that comes after you. Keep going.
Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
Okay, stop there. I'm going to show you how the fourth kingdom was different. One of the ways in history that you can actually read this in an encyclopedia. When Babylon was in control, what they did was they allowed you to work and be autonomous from Babylon. But Babylon is in charge because he's the king of kings. When the second rule of the earth came, which are the Medes and the Persians, they did the same thing. They let you operate and do as you would, as long as you recognize them as the ruler of the earth. Alexander the Great came, and he did the same thing. Except what Alexander the Great did, his kingdom was broke. They broke the world or their territory or rulership into four parts. When Rome came, but they still allowed you to do and worship and whatever you want to do, they allowed that as long as you knew who was in charge. When the fourth beast came, which is Rome, they didn't like that. Rome studies history. Rome are the masters of projection. Rome came with a very unique platform. They looked and said, we're in this for the long haul. Nobody's going to come up after us. And so what Rome did was they said, listen, how did the other three kingdoms before us fall? Well, this is what they did. They allowed people to operate and do whatever they wanted to do as long as they recognized the kingdom. But what happens is you allow alliances to take place. And that's where the Medes and the Persians grew up and came and outgrew you and took you out. Then, but they didn't learn. They turned around and let everybody rule. They figured, let's rule like Babylon did. And they went around, and if you didn't do what they said do, although they let you work autonomously, they would just kill you. So Alexander the Great's father was killed by them, the Medes and the Persians. Alexander the Great, according to the history books, was a young man in his teens when his father was killed, and he took 4 generals. They studied under Aristotle. And when they killed the father, they vowed, we're going to come back and we're going to kill these Medes and the Persians. We're going to take them out. And Alexander the Great, they grabbed an army of young men and they went to war. And you know what they did? They conquered. They conquered. But according to the scriptures, Alexander the Great only lived for a short time, and then 4 horns came after him, and the story you can read in the encyclopedia. So, but the fourth beast that came and destroyed Greece was Rome. And Rome said, nah, we ain't gonna operate that way. What we're gonna do is we're gonna merge. We're gonna have one thought. We're not going to let the pagans be over here and the Christians be over here. So they took and merged everything. And they merged ideology. And they said, we're going to let this frame of thinking go out. So that's how you have paganism incorporated into Christianity. That's what they did. Let's pick this up, Brother JD, and let's go down. Let's go down to verse 26.
Question. 23 through 24. Who are the 10 kings?
The 10 kings are the rise and fall of Rome.
Okay, so I just wanted to
And
make
because there's 10 horns out of his kingdom, which are the 10 kings that shall arise, and others rise after them. Now, this, remember, there's 10 toes, which is different from the 10 kings.
Okay, so I have a list here. It says we have Rome rose once, the Hurlons, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, uh, Justinian, uh,
Yep,
Charlemagne,
correct.
Otto the Great,
Yep,
Charles V,
keep going.
Napoleon, and Mussolini was the last one.
Now, keep in mind the first three when you read prophecy. We're not going to get into it tonight. We got into it a little bit the other night. When this horn came up, the first three were taken out. Who are the first three?
The Vandals, the Ostrogoths, and the Hurlons.
And see, the Gothics, they don't even exist anymore. You can see their buildings, but you don't see any traces of that kingdom again. So thank you, Brother JD, for that. Pick up verse 26. No. We want to talk about, we talked about, now what we're going to do is talk about his ending, because all good things must come to an end, because the fourth kingdom does not last forever. So this is where his ending comes at. Read verse 25.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
And he did do it.
And they shall
keep going.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
So he's going to be in charge all the way until the tribulation. And after the tribulation, the fourth king of the earth, or fourth kingdom of the earth, or the fourth system of the earth is going to be taken out. And we know that the last 3.5 years, because that's why we covered this the other night. We're not going to go into that. I'm only connecting kingdoms here. What happens after that? Verse 26.
But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart.
Now we're going to go to the 8th chapter. And here's what we're going to find out in the 8th chapter. In the 8th chapter, Daniel is going to be shown how the kingdoms transfer. Not only is he going to be shown how one kingdom transferred to another, because remember, Daniel is now no longer under the father. Nebuchadnezzar's dead. He's now under Belshazzar. What's unique is Daniel, which is still Babylon, by the way. What Daniel is going to be shown in the 8th chapter, because now he knows and understands that there's 4 kingdoms of the earth. This whole thing still, it says, wow, this thing is still troubling me. It's still right here. He got the interpretation, but it's still trying to put everything together. So what the Most High does in chapter 8 is to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that Daniel can understand it. Because see, you can have a dream and you can have the interpretation, and you can be an interpreter of dreams, but now everything's going to be put together. So remember, he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream, 4 kingdoms. And then the 4th kingdom is going to be destroyed, and it's going to come from a stone that's going to come from heaven, and that stone is going to stand up and live forever and ever and ever and ever. And then Daniel had another dream where he saw a lion, a bear, a leopard, and another beast. That was in the 7th chapter. He couldn't even describe what he saw. And then it rained, and he saw that the 4th beast went all the way to a tribulation, a times and a half of a time, and then it was destroyed. But he went after the people of God and prevailed until the Ancient of Days come. Now, sooner and perhaps now, Daniel is looking at the pattern of things. He's looking for kingdoms destroyed, a kingdom that's going to have the saints that's going to last forever and ever. He has his dream. That was Nebuchadnezzar's. He has the same thing till the Ancient of Days come. Kingdom is set up, lasts by and run by the saints forever and ever. But now Daniel is going to be shown a transfer of power. So let's pick it up in chapter 8, Daniel chapter 8, verse number 1. Go ahead.
In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, and after which appeared unto me at the first.
Same matter that came to me at the first. In other words, I saw 4 things, but now I'm going to get some clarity. Keep going.
And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Uliah. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns.
Stop there. We're not going to get into all of this. I'm going to show you what happened. He sees a ram with 2 horns, and it's going in every direction. Read verse number 4.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him.
Then what happens in verse number 5?
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Okay, so in verse number 4, I should have put this in there. Read verse number 4 again. I saw the ram push from north to south so that no beast might stand before him. Pick it up from there.
Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great.
Now stop there. Remember, I told you that when you're only in charge until God says your time is up. I don't care what country you are. You're only in charge. Trump is only in charge until God says, I don't have no use for him anymore. And if the Almighty needs him in this upcoming election to win, he's going to put him there. Okay, so you're only in charge until God says you're no longer in charge. So look at the transfer of power here. Pick it up in verse number 5.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground.
That means he came so quickly. Keep going.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Okay.
And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
Now, these two horns are two kingdoms, two governments. And we're going to find out who they are in a minute. Because whenever you see horns, that's what that is. When you see mountains, that's what that is. So this ram had two horns, okay? And he ran with all his fury, and he took out, this goat did, and he takes out this ram. Keep going.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Okay. So what happened to this goat now?
Therefore the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
So this goat that had this one horn, because the ram had two, but when this goat came, one of his horns, the great horn was broken. The great horn was broken. So that king, whoever that was broken. We know who it is in a minute. But then comes four notable ones after that. Now listen to this. Verse number 9.
And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host of heaven, a host of the stars, to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea.
This is talking about the little horn now. Keep going.
Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Oh, now we need to find out who is this that went in and took the daily sacrifice away and caused the place of the sanctuary to be cast down. Keep going.
And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot?
So we know how long that's going to be because we read that last night. But go down to verse number 15, because now Daniel wants meaning of this dream.
We don't know how long it's going to be because he doesn't say 3.5 years here. He adds to it.
No. Well, this is going into a different subject because you're going to get into 2,300 days or 2,300 days, and then you got to subtract the 1,260. This is a whole lesson here. That's why I'm skipping that.
Oh, okay.
I'm skipping that part. Yeah.
My bad. Okay. And it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. Okay, so now they're going to give Daniel the interpretation of this dream. Because Daniel, he sees a ram, he sees a goat come out of no place, and he sees a notable horn come up. Okay, now it's important that you remember that this took place during the days of Belshazzar, who is the son of Nebuchadnezzar. This is important to know that when Daniel had this dream. Okay. We're going to pick this back up. Keep going. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, And when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision.
Okay. In other words, a lot of what you saw is during the time of the end. And this is why the Messiah in Matthew 24th chapter, when they wanted to know when are these things going to be, what's going to be the sign of thy coming, and when shall the end be? Jesus refers you back to Daniel. But he also says there's going to be a tribulation. And then he also says, and immediately after the tribulation, the Son of Man is going to appear. So when he appears, that is the stone that Nebuchadnezzar saw. That is the Ancient of Days that Daniel saw after the fourth beast. That's going to come after the times and a half of the time. So you got two people. You got Daniel telling you that the fourth beast's reign is going to end after the tribulation, times and half the time is going to go after the saints. And then you got Jesus saying, and immediately after the tribulation shall the Son of Man appear. Immediately after. So we're getting some, although we put in the four kingdoms together, all of this from this week is now starting to make or bring out a little bit more light. Now, keep going. Verse number 18.
Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be.
Now, keep in mind, Daniel is having this dream during the time of him being in captivity of the Babylonians. That's important to know. That's very important to know. Now he's going to give Daniel something that he's letting him know how power and who that power is going to transfer. Listen to this.
The ram.
Verse number 20.
The ram.
Now, those that are coming in, we in Daniel, the 8th chapter. We're going to pick it up in verse number 20.
The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
Now remember that ram had two horns, and one stood longer than the other. Because the reason is because one kingdom, being the Media and the Persians join the Medians join in with the Persians because they're the same people, but their government joined together. You can read all of this in the encyclopedia, in world history. So the ram having two horns were the Medes and the Persians. But guess what? Keep going.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
Okay.
And the great horn that is between his eye is the first king.
Because remember, the great horn breaks. It breaks. So what you can find in history, and I'll do a lesson on this later, I can show you in the encyclopedia that it was the Medes and the Persians that defeated the Babylonians. And it was the Grecians under Alexander the Great. And notice history calls Alexander the what?
The Great.
Alexander the Great. Notice the scripture says the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. And that's Alexander. But read in verse 22.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up.
Now, let me talk about being broken. When you read the encyclopedia, it would tell you that Alexander died at a very young age. Some said that he died of malaria. Some said he died of the flu. But it was during the wintertime, whenever it was, however it was, he died at a very young age. Very young age.
Age 32.
Age 32. So, and notice it just says that king was broken. Now, Daniel is getting this before it ever takes place. So I did a lesson on the greatest book ever on earth is this King James Version Bible, because you can confirm history just simply by reading the encyclopedia and look at who defeated Babylon, Medes and the Persians, and they're going to tell you it's the Persians. And then who defeated the Persians? Greeks. And if you don't know who the fourth beast is, notice what he does, because the fourth beast is whoever defeats the Grecians. So let's get back into this. Go ahead, my brother.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up, for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
So what's the name of those generals? And if you read what's the name of those generals, Brother JD?
Was it Ptolemy?
Seleucus?
I can get the notes. If you
Cassandra. That's all. I just wanted to bring that out. But they stood up, but not how? In his power. Right?
Correct.
Now read verse number 23.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance,
that's that little horn,
and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own.
This is Rome. Keep going.
His own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Because Rome doesn't really have an army. The Pope in the Vatican doesn't have an army. So his power is mighty, but not by his own power. You see, this is how you can read history and realize this. You sit back and say, well, wait a minute, this is so, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles can see this, and he's dead. So what the point that I'm bringing out is when you look at the characteristics, the Vatican and Rome does not, or the Vatican, or that system, does not have an army of its own. It uses others to maintain its power. So let's keep going.
So those four generals, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, Cassander, and Seleucus.
Thank you, my brother. Read verse 24.
And in his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Now I'm going to stop there. Because what I want to do is I want to go over at this point to the book of Revelations, because
before you go there, answer a question in the chat. Israel witnessed and servant that he said the time of the end started with Alexander the Great, as in a form of a question.
The time of the end is going to be, according to the scriptures, that I'm talking about the ending of the fourth beast is going to be when he makes war with the saints for a time, times and a half of a time, and then the Messiah shall come. So that's what we read when Daniel saw this thing, and he saw this fourth beast, but it went, this horn went after the saints, and it spoke great things, great policies come from his mouth, and it went forth until it went after the saints and prevailed. We read, and it says for a time, times and a half of a time. Then the Messiah comes, and there's no more fourth kingdom. I hope that I'm making that part clear according to what we read in the scriptures. And I'll jump back to that right now so we can see that. I want to go back. We can read that. I think that was definitely in Daniel.
Daniel 8.
Daniel 8. I'm at Daniel 7.
You do have a
So
question
I'm
about.
scrolling up and I'm like, where is that? I'm looking where the part says a time, times, and a
half a times.
Yeah.
That would be. That's not in 8.
That's in 7.
Right.
That's in Daniel, the 7th chapter. Okay, right here. So here, Daniel talks about the fourth beast, and he is going to stay in charge. I just had it. I just had the time, times and a half a time. I thought I did. Okay.
Well, that's verse 25.
Is that verse 25? Okay. He shall speak great words against the Most High. He shall wear out the saints of the Most High, think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hands until a time, times and a half of a time. So basically, the fourth beast is only going to be in power for just a short period, not a short period of time. The tribulation is a short period of time, 3.5 years, and that marks the end of the fourth kingdom. And then the Messiah sets up, which is the stone, which is what the Ancient of Days shall come, and the saints shall possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever. That's where we are with that. I'm going to come back to other questions in the chat room. I want to go to this. Well, you know what? Before I go to Revelations, we talked about how this beast or this he's going to speak great things. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians, because the apostles brought this out as well. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. Pick it up in verse number 1.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand.
Okay, so now he's going to give you some information. Keep going.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first.
So there's going to be a falling away first,
and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Now, what is that son? How are we going to be able to identify him?
Well, first of all, what does it mean to fall away?
Well, to fall away means they're going to be in the truth, but they're going to fall out of the truth.
That's right.
Because you can't fall away unless you're in the way. So there'll be a falling away first. So how do we know who this man of sin, son of perdition is? What does he do in verse number 4?
Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God.
Okay, who does that? Who calls himself the vicar?
The father. Some fake in a white Obi-Kenobi robe. That's who.
So that means in place of God. That's what the Pope's name is. Keep going. Who's opposeth and exalt himself above all that is what?
All that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
So this is going to take place. He's going to sit in the temple of God. He's going to sit in the temple of God, showing himself he is God. Keep going.
Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things?
Now, how does Paul know these things? Paul knows them because he was taught. And the reason why Paul was taught, because the disciples were taught. And the reason why the disciples were taught, because on Matthew, the 24th chapter, he told them that when you should see the abomination of the desolation, stand in the holy place. So where is this guy going to work out of? He's going to sit as God, sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that what?
He is God.
Okay, keep going.
Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time?
Keep going.
For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way.
And then what's going to happen?
And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Keep going.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders.
You can stop there. I just want to bring that out, because what he's doing, let's go back over here to Daniel. I'm going to go back to Daniel so we can just see a little of this, okay? Because I went from Daniel to here, but I just want to go back so we don't forget. Daniel 8. Pick it up in verse 24.
And his power shall be mighty, but
you can pick it up at verse 23.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
He's not going to last. He's not going to last, and we already know the end of his coming is going to be after he goes after. Remember, we just read here, and he's going to destroy many, and by peace. We also read he's going to come after the saints. He did this during his day. He did this during the Spanish Inquisition. He did this during a lot of time and taking that Romish Christianity across the world. That's what they did. So the point is, at the end of his reign, when he goes after the saints for a times and a half a time, it's going to be done. Let's get back over here, brother, to Revelations now. I want to go to Revelations, the 13th chapter. Revelations, the 13th chapter. Because everybody has to see this. Tonight, we're just talking about the four kingdoms. And in particular, the fourth, but we're showing you everybody had a vision of this. Start with verse number 1.
2 seconds. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Now, this is talking about the fourth beast now.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
We know why 7 heads, because remember when Daniel saw the vision of the leper, he saw a lion that had 1 head, a bear that had 4, and he saw a lion, a bear, and a leper. The leper had 4 heads. The leper had 4. The bear and the lion had a head of its own. So that's a total of 6. And then the fourth beast got its own head. That's a total of 7 heads. Keep going. And 10 horns.
And 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon
that's kingdoms. Keep going.
And his heads the name of blasphemy.
So to show you all of the dream, let's look at what they all look like. Verse 2.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
We read that.
Name them off. You might as well keep people forget.
What's that?
Name them off. Who was the leopard?
The leper was Greek.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
The Medes and the Persian.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
The Babylonians.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
So that came from Satan.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they
stop right there. I want to go with verse number 5. I want to skip a little bit because we read some of this last night, but I want to bring out how long he's going to be in charge at the end. Go ahead and read that.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
That's 3.5 years.
And he opened it. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Out of the fourth beast comes the abomination of the desolation. Out of the fourth beast comes the abomination of the desolation. I'm going to say that again. Out of the fourth beast comes the abomination of the desolation. The abomination of the desolation is what Jesus talked about in Matthew 24. And that he was, and it's what we read in Daniel. When I said, let's go back and read Daniel and see how long, see when that fourth kingdom ends, when the abomination of the desolation, or that horn, whatever you want to call it, whoever you want to call it, when it starts to operate out of the temple of God. We read that earlier, as if he is God. When he does that, he's going to go after the saints for 3.5 years, a times and a half of a time. And he's going to continue his power for 42 months. We did that lesson all this week. I just wanted to show you that the connection. Keep going. He's going to speak great things and blasphemies, and the power is going to give it to him for how long?
40 and 2 months.
And what's he going to do?
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Okay, remember we read in Daniel that he's going to come after the saints. He's going to come after the saints times and after time. He's going to come after the saints. Let's read it right here in the book of Revelation. We read it in Daniel. Let's read it right here.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life.
Everybody whose name is not written in the book of the life of the Lamb,
they're
going to worship him.
Slain from the foundation of the world.
Okay, skip down to verse number 11.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon.
And
he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Keep going.
And he does great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in sight of men.
Now, I want to stop there because we read this last night, what he is able, how he comes. What I want to do is connect this with Daniel, the 12th chapter now. Everything, the summation. Because remember, we read the 8th chapter, the 9th chapter. We read the 7th. We read the 3rd chapter of Daniel. I'm sorry, the 2nd, the 3rd. We read the 7th, the 8th. I want to go over to Daniel, the 12th chapter, the last book of Daniel. Let's start with verse number 1.
And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be...
At time means this is going to be at the future. Michael's going to stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. Keep going.
And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Didn't
Jesus already told us that, right? So now he's letting you know what's going to be taking place. Let's go to Matthew 24. We got to bring this out before we bring Daniel, the 12th chapter. We got it because you have to understand when you put line upon line, precept upon precept, we're getting the answers right out of the book. So listen to what he says. We read about that you're gonna, in verse number 15, just read that real quick.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place.
Now remember that he has to stand in the holy place, but skip down to when that happens, verse number 21, because we now are going to read, you're going to read this in Daniel the 12th chapter. Listen to this.
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
So that's what we read in Daniel. This trouble time is, you've never seen nothing like it. Keep going.
And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved.
And we know that he's only going to do it for 3.5 years. And remember what happens after the tribulation in verse number 29.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Why is the powers of the heaven going to be shaken? Because here comes that stone. Here comes the Ancient of Days. Read verse 30.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now, let's go back to Daniel, the 12th chapter. Let's go back to Daniel, the 12th chapter. Understanding all of what we just read, let's pick it up. Let's pick it up right here what Daniel is going to be talking about. Last chapter, Daniel. You read that again, verse number 1.
And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered. Everyone that shall be found written in the book.
Now stop right there. We just read in the book of Revelations. Let's go back over here. Everybody that's found written in the book, they're going to be delivered. So let's go back to Revelations and show you what happens to those that are not found written in the book. Go down to verse, you read it.
It's going to be a hot day in the sun. 13.
We just read all those that did not have, whose names was not found written. Where was that at?
Oh, that was 8.
Right here.
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose name are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
So everybody whose names, now let's go over to Daniel. So other than that, if your name is written, you're going to be okay. If your name is not written, you're going to be worshiping the beast. Let's go back over and read that. We started off right here. Such as never since there was a nation, even at that same time. And read right here. And at that time,
thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
Now, what happens next, my brother?
And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
Keep going.
Wait, you mean my grandma's not in heaven right now?
No, sir.
Oh, man.
Ain't that something?
And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long should it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, it shall be for a time, times, and half a time, and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all things shall be finished.
So after the end of the tribulation, all these things are going to be finished. All of these things are done. So listen, we covered, my wife said to me yesterday, she says, man, you were loud the other night. Because 12:30, 1 o'clock last night, because I didn't have to work today. And we went until the other night before that, Brother JD, the first night that you came and you read unexpectedly, and thank you for doing that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we went into the tribulation. We went into the 3.5 years. We covered this thing. And let me tell you something. It's not redundancy. The more you go over it, the more you understand it. And the pieces of the puzzle come together. Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel's dream, even on his second round, he was named the nations. When you look at what's happening today and you see revelations and the pieces of the puzzle get in place and the fourth beast getting ready to stand in the holy place and operate out of the temple we read. When you see all of that and you start to see everything unfold and people start to say, oh, there's a war over there. It's going down. When people start to say, oh, the fires, oh, the water's polluted, there's going to be that pestilence, all of that stuff going to happen. All of that stuff's going to happen. He said all of this is going to, listen, this stuff been happening for years. This is what I've been saying all week. The next big thing to happen is a tribulation. Now, does that mean when there's a hurricane coming, Pastor Johnson is not going to board up his windows and go get some water and make sure that, no, that don't mean that at all. That don't mean I'm going to walk in life nonchalant. I take things very serious. This coronavirus, I'm praying, but I take it very serious because I think it hasn't even reached its peak. But keep in mind, that's a small thing compared to 1918 when 50 million people died. 50 million people died of the Spanish flu. Now, will this thing reach to that magnitude? It might, but guess what? It ain't the end of the world. It ain't the end of the world. It's not time to get into the wilderness. When it's time to get in the wilderness, it's when you see the abomination of the desolation standing in the holy place. And so this was so exciting all week. I want to thank all of you all. I'm going to go to the chat room in a minute. I want to thank all of you all that tarried with us and Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and tonight. I want to say thank you and for sharing the lessons. Brother JD, I want to say thank you. Yes, we're getting out of here early tonight. We are.
Why?
Brother Israel says the fourth beast is a combination of all of the kingdoms and beasts that pass, or the beasts that pass. Is this not so? Yes, that's very true. The fourth beast is a combination. Yes, that's what it is. The fourth beast is a combination of them all. Messenger of Israel, the head that was wounded is a false church, which was wounded in 1798. The beast coming out of the great earth with two horns like a lamb means that it represents the whole earth. Okay, we read that in Revelation. The beast coming out of the sea means the people or kingdom coming above all other kingdoms. Thank you for your input, Brother Israel, Brother Messenger Israel. And some of you all have given scriptures over there. Brother Kanea says Sunday worship, Pope, yes. So much in this, so much. I just want to say to Jerry, Lavana, Ronnie, Queen Cleo, Brother Israel, Brother Messenger Israel, NP, how you doing? Kenanya, how you doing? Messenger, Arthur, how you doing? Ronnie M, how you doing? Sister Lavana, Brother Tobiah, Brother Richard, how you doing? Brother Reginald Heath, how you doing, my brother? All the way from Charlotte. We played a song a few minutes ago from Brother Minister Michael Norman, who's going to, we're going to talk to next week before the lesson. Sister Lavana Abigail, how you doing? Brother Jerry, Abraham Talbert, let's see who else is here. All of y'all, shout outs to all of you all. Shout outs to all of you all. Franklin Grant, Mad Dog, how you doing? Sister Elaine, how you doing? Sister Kelly Ming, Brother Sister Lakeisha Ming, Brother Cancer Ming, all of my friends up there in Philadelphia. So glad to see you all. Sister KT, how you doing? Brother D. Carlos, happy Sabbath to you as well. Sister Sheila Claytor, I'm going to tell you, Sister Sheila, you are a trooper. I want to thank you for your prayers and your support always, as well as everybody here. Brother Abraham, Sister Renee, how you doing? All of y'all, hit the like button if you could do that. We're running 60 strong just inside of the chat room. Brother Avery, how you doing? That's the Talbert family. How are you all doing? Just hit that like button. We had a great lesson tonight. Very great lesson.
No, don't go anywhere now. Don't go anywhere now. Don't go.
Oh, Brother JB?
Yeah, we got to deal with one thing.
What's that?
Okay, now, somebody in the chat said something. Can you quickly turn to Matthew 24 so we can deal with it? It's not going to take long.
Matthew 24. I'm going to let you deal with that. How's that?
I'll put it on screen.
Matthew 24. Here we go, my brother.
Can you read verse 13 for me, please, sir?
Matthew 24, 13.
Now I'm going to read what the person said in the chat. I'm not going to read the name. They said that Kanye West is saving thousands every month by taking them to Jesus Christ. Okay, well, let's see what the Bible says. Verse 13. Started.
Which one?
24, start at 12, read all the way through 13, please. Because I don't know any man in the flesh right now who can save me.
But he that endureth until the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come.
So there ain't nobody saved right now. Because if you're saved, then you must be immortal. So I get tired, and I'm not going to pick on the person. That's why I didn't say their name, but I get tired of the saved stuff.
Well, let me say this. I want to do a lesson on salvation, saved, baptized. The scripture says, he that endures till the end shall be saved. I do a lesson that talks about saved, because a lot of people say, well, I'm saved. They get baptized. I'm saved. You're not saved until you endure till the end.
Period.
He that endures till the end shall be saved. And when you change from flesh to spirit, then you are saved. You're saved. We're now on the road to salvation. And we have received the plan of salvation. We have accepted Christ as the only begotten of the Father. No man can come unto the Father except you go through the Son.
That's
if
right.
you try to go up any other way, you're the same as a thief and a robber. You must come in at the door. The blood must be shed. The blood must be applied. But let me tell you something. You can do that and you can fall. Israel failed. Israel put the blood on the doorpost. They didn't make it out of the wilderness. Everybody 20 years old and up didn't make it out. But when you endure till the end, when this corruption shall put on incorruption, when this mortal shall put on immortality, then cometh the end. When the Messiah gives a perfect kingdom to the Father. Now, if you in the first resurrection, you saved. You have received, you have become spirit. But other than that, We're not saved until we become spirit. I'm going to do a lesson on that. Brother JD.
Good.
All of you all tonight, even if you don't understand that, don't worry about it. We get into that. We'll get into that later. So all of that being said, even if your comments, I appreciate all comments. You don't have to always agree with me. Many of y'all know me by now. A lot of times we tarry, we study together. That's how we do it. And as I said before, Brother Israel, he and I we've exchanged information. There's a couple of things we are sharing with each other because we have difference of understanding. I think there was another young lady that was in here. I can't think of her name. She wrote me a nice email and she says, Pastor, I don't see eye to eye with you on that, but I enjoy your teaching on other things. And that's it. You know, you do things according to your understanding. That's all we can do. All I'm going to do is read this book. That's why tonight, Brother JD did a lot of reading, because I don't want to be nothing I say. I want it to come from the book. I've enjoyed y'all tonight. I think this is the first time we're going to get out of here in 2 hours. And we did it, Brother JD, 2 hours. We're out of here. What do you think about that, my brother?
Yeah, I had to keep quiet on purpose.
Okay.
Because you know me.
All right. So that being said, thank all of you all. I hate to leave you like this, but I'm not going to even kid. I am tired. I just didn't sleep today. I didn't get it. But I will tell you, I want to thank all of you all that do support me through patreon.com because there's things that I do and on this channel, and you make it possible. And I want to thank you for that. The microphones, this nice little microphone here, thank you. Thank you. There's other microphones that I have around, lighting that we have. You all make that possible so that we can bring out this platform. That's why I do this all the time. I have to. I'm committed to do it. My time is invested because I am a believer. I know this book is the truth book. I know it is. I know it's the keys to salvation. I know Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is the plan to salvation. We're going to get into some of this stuff later on. We're going to really get into it. But I would really want to thank all of you all for your support. If you do not have a place of worship, I always say this, if you don't have a place of worship and you don't have a place of worship and you do want to give, you can do that. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All you have to do is go right here, click on this link, and you can donate to Bethel House of God. Let me tell you what we do. One of the things that we do is the first Sabbath of every month, we bring clothes and we provide everybody with breakfast in the community, everybody. We whether they're homeless or whether they're just, they can live in a house and just going through hard times. Everybody knows in the area, because the word has already been spread, come to Bethel the first Sabbath of every month. If you need clothes, shoes, people come from all over. And sometimes they'll drive up, they'll go in and get some breakfast. They'll come out, they'll say the kids section, they'll say, I'm looking for a pair of kids' shoes, whatever. They can get it, take it. It's all free. It's all free. They just take it and go. And they can come back that afternoon and eat lunch. And in fact, we feed any and everybody every Sabbath after lunch. All they got to do is come and just jump in line. Whether they come to service or not, we're going to feed them. And so if you want to help us in our endeavors, we are a church that does something. We own the entire block. Our membership is vastly growing. We have the option of selling and getting a bigger place, or we have so much land, we have the option of adding to our existing facility. So whenever you do that, you're welcome. The MP says, I'll be in Florida July, planning on attending Bethel. MP, that's going to be awesome. So we'll look forward to seeing you in July, and please give me the dates and when you will do that. Sister KT and Brother Abraham and their family came all the way down, Sister Queen from St. Mary, Georgia, to visit one Sabbath. Sister Queen Cleo and her husband, Brother Abraham, they drove down all the way from Savannah. We did a baptism. We baptized them. We knew that going to the ocean was not going to make it that day, because there's certain days you don't want to go to the beach. So we brought them here to our home and we baptized them right here. So Brother Israel said, please remember that conference once every 3 months. Can you organize it, Seeking the Truth? Brother Israel put something on the table, and I like it. He's laying a seed to do something what we call Seeking the Truth Conference, where we just come and just open up the book and just seek the truth. Some of us are reading, but we need to really put whatever differences of the way we're interpreting it and get down to the truth. Even if you don't believe in the Sabbath, when we set up this conference, you need to come to this conference and say, listen, I don't see eating clean. We're going to have a Seek the Truth conference. And all we're going to do is fast, pray, and read. Good. We're going to be like Daniel was. Daniel says, man, this thing was heavy upon my head in my night visions. And he got the answer. This is going to be great. You know, we did a conference, and with Ron Shields came down. Divine Prospect is when he does his debating, his Divine Prospects, Kingdom Harbor Ministries. He came down. Brother Ron Dalton came down. Brother Benaiah Israel came down. Many. I don't want to call names and leave somebody out. They all came down, and we had a very great time. Brother Israel, it was just a great time that we had. Brother Michael Israel, Spiritual Combat. And it was the first time that we all had met each other, and it was great. But let me tell you, right now, I am really, I have spent the latter part of 2019 and all of 2020 really learning and strengthening myself around my brothers and getting rooted and grounded in the truth. And I give my hats off to the Israel of God. I'm going up there in 2 weeks. I'm going to go up and just hang out with my brothers up there, the teachers up there, because these brothers have really inspired me. They come and speak at Bethel, but I'm going to go up there the weekend of March the 7th and have a great time up there. And I'm going to beat Brother James up there. I see you in the chat room, Brother James. I thought I did, but I know last night you talked about coming down. But again, if you don't have a place where you are not giving an offering, and if you like to give an offering to a congregation, a Hebrew congregation that is doing something, I put the information there in the chat room under Bethel House of God. It's there. You can do it online. We also have Cash App, and the Cash App is Bethel House of God. And make sure you type it all the way out, because when you start to type $BET, make sure it's the Bethel House of God that has our logo. You'll know the logo. So you'll get it if you type it all the way out. That's our Cash App, okay? So if you want to do that, you can do that. Again, that is the $Bethel House of God. And it goes. Now, let me tell you something. In our congregation, I do not touch money. I don't touch money. I don't count money. I don't deal with money. I don't. That's the way it's always been since we've had the ministry. That is the rules that I made, and I put it in writing. Nobody in my family, by blood or marriage, can deal with money unless it is, how can I say it? It's got to be, I take it to the church, basically is what I do. And the reason why I do that, there was a situation where we had a very good treasurer for years, very excellent. And she moved away. She got her job transferred her. Well, nobody wanted to be the treasurer. I couldn't find a treasurer. So I had to pick a team of individuals, because we have an outside accountant, but we had to pick a team. And one of the people on that team was a relative. And I said, that's a relative, but let's make it a team. And shortly, it's for a short stint. And then we got somebody who was not a family member by blood or by marriage. So we have a very good treasurer. So they do due diligence. We are a blessed ministry that nobody has ever stole money. We don't have that problem. We're too fearful of the Most High. And this is why we're able to do so much, because when offerings come in, we do a lot. This is about ministry. We do a lot. It's about spreading the gospel, and it's about providing aid to those that need it. And we've done that. So again, whatever you want to do, whatever the Almighty puts on your heart to do, even just through Patreon to help us in what we do, we want to thank you for it. Brother JD, I'm going to end in prayer. Is that okay?
I'm going to put a plug out for Ronald Dalton real quick.
Okay.
So I think Ronald Dalton is working on a fourth movie or a third movie. I'm going to put his website link.
Okay.
You guys should go over there and support him too. He's a walking encyclopedia.
Doing a very great job in documenting. Very good job. Brother Benea Israel doing a very good job in documenting.
If we all
very
could
good
just
job. Check these brothers out. They've been on my channel just chatting and chopping it up. Go over there and check them out. Likewise with Kingdom Harbor Ministries.
Yeah,
and of course, let me just say this. Pastor Bowie has been doing a 5-week series, 5-week series on us. Let me tell you something, people, when you get finished watching those, if you don't believe who we are, you're not going to ever believe it. And what our job is and what our role is. I cannot say enough about it. Of course, I'm being partial because that's my teacher. That's my family. Yeah. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
All right. Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight. We thank you for all of those that are in the chat room tonight. We thank you for those that are watching, sharing, whatever it may be. We thank you for giving us the energy all week to come these past 4 nights. Just getting into your word, meditating in your word day in and day out, not turning to the left, not turning to the right, but we just being in your word, feeding. It's been a feeding spiritual time off of your word. And we just thank you, Father. We thank you for the knowledge that you have given us. Nothing that we have gotten on our own, not of our own understanding, but we feel worthy like Daniel, that you have sent your spirit through your word to give us understanding that we may be able to impart from the hearts of our minds so that others can understand and so that they likewise can help others. Because we know that when the abomination of the desolation comes, there is a place of safety. And at the end of the day, Father, we want to be found written in the Lamb's book of life. We want to hear you say, well done, good and faithful servants, faithful with few things, but you will make us ruler over many. This we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Happy Sabbath to all of you all, and we shall talk soon.